When the day starts quietly, it doesn't feel like a beginning. It feels like something that was already happening, and you just happen to wake up inside it. That's the first thing you notice now, how different mornings feel compared to years ago. You open your eyes not because you're excited about what's coming, and not because you're worried about what you might miss. You wake up because your body tells you it's time. No alarm rushing you, no voice in your head saying you're late. Just a quiet awareness that the night has loosened its grip. The room is still dim. That soft, early light that doesn't ask you to get moving yet. It just lets you know the day is there, waiting. You stay still for a moment. In the past, staying still felt like wasting time. There was always something you should already be doing. But now, staying still feels earned. At some point in life, you stop fighting the quiet. You start listening to it. You sit up slowly, feet touching the floor that feels familiar in a way you don't think about anymore. The same floor, the same room, the same house. And yet, you're not the same person who first woke up here years ago. You walk toward the window, not expecting to see anything new. Outside, the neighborhood looks calm, not asleep, just not fully awake yet. Houses sit quietly, as if they're holding on to the last bit of night. No people in sight, no movement that demands attention, but you know better. You know there are others awake right now, other people standing in their kitchens and other people sitting at the edge of their beds, other people easing into the same kind of morning. You don't know their names, you may never speak to them, but somehow that doesn't make the moment feel lonely. It makes it feel shared. When you were younger, you didn't need that feeling. You were busy enough with your own plans, your own pressure, your own need to prove something. Back then, mornings felt like a challenge, something to conquer before the day could officially begin. You woke up already thinking about what was ahead. Meetings, responsibilities, decisions. Your mind ran faster than your body. Now, the mind wakes up slower, and that feels right. You take a breath and notice the air. Cool. Still. Utah mornings have a particular kind of calm to them. Not dramatic, not romantic, just steady. Living here long enough teaches you that calm isn't empty. It's full of small things you used to overlook. The way the light changes minute by minute. The way the quiet has texture. The way your thoughts come and go without needing to be chased. You remember a time when silence made you uncomfortable, when slowing down felt dangerous. You were afraid that if you stopped moving, you'd start thinking about things you didn't have answers for. Mistakes, missed chances, conversations that never happened. So you stayed busy. Busy was safe. But something shifted along the way. Maybe it was age. Maybe it was experience. Maybe it was just getting tired of running. Now silence doesn't scare you the way it used to. It doesn't demand explanations, and it just lets you be where you are. You think about how many mornings you've had like this, how many of them you rushed through without noticing. You wonder how many more you'll get. That thought doesn't bring fear. It brings perspective. You're not counting anymore. You're paying attention. You move through the house quietly, not because you need to be careful, but because there's no reason to disturb the calm. The house feels different at this hour, more honest, less crowded with expectations. This is the version of the house before roles kick in, before work, before responsibilities, just walls, light, and space. You think about the people who used to fill this space differently, kids who grew up and moved on. Moments that felt endless at the time. The house hasn't changed much, but its meaning has. It holds memories now instead of noise. That realization sneaks up on you sometimes. You didn't plan for life to feel like this, it just happened. And strangely, you don't feel the need to fight it. Outside, a garage door opens somewhere down the street. The sound cuts through the quiet, but it doesn't break it. It blends in. Another sign that the day is beginning, but still not rushing. You realize something about yourself in this moment. You're no longer trying to get ahead of the day, you're just stepping into it. There was a time when your worth felt tied to how fast you moved, how much you could do, how many things you could carry at once. Now worth feels quieter. It feels like being present, like noticing what's actually happening instead of what should be happening. Utah mornings have a way of reflecting that back to you. They don't celebrate urgency, they don't reward noise, they just exist. And in that existence, you feel permission to slow down. You don't call it peace. That word feels too big. You don't call it happiness either. It's something smaller than that. Something steadier. A sense that you're not behind your own life anymore. You don't need the day to validate you. You don't need it to prove anything. You've already lived enough to know that not every day needs to be meaningful in a dramatic way. Some days just need to begin quietly. You stand there a moment longer, not waiting for anything specific, just letting the start of the day settle into you. Soon enough, the noise will come. Phones will ring, tasks will appear. But right now, the day hasn't asked you to perform yet, and that feels like a gift. You don't know exactly when this change happened in you. It wasn't one big moment. It was hundreds of small mornings like this. Mornings where nothing special happened, but something inside you softened. Those mornings added up. And now, here you are. Standing in a familiar place, watching another quiet beginning unfold. You don't rush it. You let it be what it is. Because when the day starts quietly, it reminds you that you don't have to rush into being yourself. You already are. By the time the day fully arrives, the quiet has already done its work. You don't notice the moment it leaves. It doesn't announce itself or make a sound. It simply blends into the background. As the rest of the day begins to layer over it, a car passes by outside. Another garage door opens. Somewhere nearby, a door closes a little louder than it needs to. The world is waking up now. And yet something from that quiet beginning stays with you. You feel it as you move through the house. As you step outside, as you start doing the things that need to be done, it's subtle. But it's there. A steadiness you didn't always have. When you were younger, the day had a way of grabbing you, pulling you forward before you had time to settle into yourself. You were always reacting, always catching up. The moment the day started, you felt behind. But now, when the day starts quietly, you don't feel that pressure right away. You've already had time to arrive. That changes things. You notice it in how you move. You don't rush your steps. You don't check the time as often. You're not trying to get ahead of anything. You're just moving through the day as it unfolds. There was a time when that would have made you uncomfortable. You used to believe that if you weren't pushing, you were falling behind. That slowing down meant giving up. But life has a way of teaching you differently. It teaches you that pace isn't the same as progress. That moving slower doesn't mean you're stuck. Sometimes it means you finally know where you are. You think about the years when your days were packed from beginning to end. When every hour had a purpose and every purpose felt urgent. Back then, you told yourself you were building something. A career. A future. A life. And maybe you were. But you were also missing something. You were missing the space between things, the moments that didn't lead anywhere. The quiet beginnings that asked nothing of you. You didn't know to miss them then. You were too busy trying to arrive somewhere else. Now you're not in such a hurry. Not because you've reached some final destination, but because you understand something you didn't before. Life doesn't really arrive, and it just keeps moving. And if you're always focused on what's next, you miss where you are. Utah has a way of making that clear. It's not a place that rushes you emotionally. It doesn't demand that you reinvent yourself every day. It lets you stay where you are a little longer. You see it in the way people move here, in the way conversations don't always need an ending, in the way mornings are allowed to be quiet. You realize how much that has shaped you. At some point, you stopped measuring your days by what you accomplished and started measuring them by how they felt. Not in a dramatic way, not asking whether the day was good or bad, just noticing whether it felt heavy or light, whether you felt present or distracted, whether you felt like yourself. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually, through loss, through change, through moments you didn't plan for. You think about people your age who are carrying things quietly, people who don't talk much about what they've been through, but feel it every morning when they wake up. Children who grew up faster than expected. Parents who aged faster than they hoped. Dreams that didn't turn out exactly the way they imagined. None of it dramatic enough to make headlines, but enough to shape a life. Those people still get up every morning, still move through their days, still carry their stories without making much noise. You see them in the grocery store, at stoplights, walking through the neighborhood. You recognize something in their faces. Not regret, not disappointment, experience, the kind that doesn't need to be explained. When the day starts quietly, you feel closer to those people, even if you never speak to them, because you know what it took to get here. You know how many loud days came before this quieter phase. You know how much strength it took to slow down without feeling like you failed. That's not something you learn when you're young. That's something you earn. As the morning continues, the quiet doesn't disappear. It just settles deeper. You notice how you respond differently to small frustrations. You don't take them personally anymore. A delay doesn't feel like an insult. A change of plans doesn't feel like a disaster. You've lived long enough to know that most things work themselves out. And the things that don't, they teach you something anyway. You think back to a time when every problem felt urgent, when you stayed up late worrying about things that never happened. Now, when worry shows up, it doesn't stay as long. It knows you've handled worse. That confidence didn't come from success alone. It came from endurance. From mornings you didn't want to face, but did anyway. From days that started quietly, even when your mind was loud. And slowly, your mind learned to quiet down, too. You begin to understand why mornings like this matter. Not because they're peaceful, but because they remind you who you are before the world has a chance to define you for the day. Before roles take over, before expectations show up. Just you, standing in the beginning of another ordinary day. There's something grounding about that. Something that makes the rest of the day feel manageable. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply living the life you're already in. And maybe that's what so many people your age are quietly craving. Not excitement, not change, just permission to be where they are, without feeling like they should be somewhere else. Somewhere out there, someone listening to this is nodding without realizing it. They've had mornings like this too. Mornings where the quiet felt heavier than usual, but also more honest. Mornings where they realized they weren't the same person they used to be, and that, maybe, that was okay. Those realizations don't always come with big emotions. Sometimes they come with a sigh, sometimes with silence, sometimes with a simple thought. This feels different than it used to. If you felt that, you're not alone. A lot of us are waking up to that same understanding. We don't talk about it much. We just carry it. And when we hear a story that sounds familiar, something inside us opens up. We feel seen. That's what quiet beginnings do. They give us space to notice what's already there. The day keeps moving. It always will. But how it starts can change how it feels. When the day starts quietly, it doesn't promise anything. It just gives you room to breathe, room to remember, room to keep going without rushing yourself. And maybe, after listening to this, you'll recognize one of your own mornings in it. Maybe you'll think about how the day starts for you, what it asks of you, what it gives you. If you feel like sharing that, maybe you'll leave a comment. Not because you need advice, not because you need answers, just to say, yeah, I know that feeling too. Sometimes that's enough.